The Boy Who Unplugged the Sea. Building sandcastles was one of Marcel's favourite pastimes. He would spend hours on the beach with his dog Whippy, creating amazing sculptures out of sand, shells and pebbles. But, annoyingly, when the tide came in, Marcel's lovely creations were always washed away. He tried building his sandcastles further away from the sea, but the sand was just too dry and wouldn't stick together. He dug really deep moats around them, but eventually they filled up with seawater and his creations crumbled. No matter how big and strong Marcel built his sandcastles, the sea was always bigger and stronger. Before bedtime, as Marcel was washing the sand out from his toes, he had an amazing idea. "That's it!" he exclaimed. The sea was just like a gigantic bath. He would simply unplug it. Without delay, Marcel got straight to work. "Whippy, we're going to need something special to get to the bottom of the sea." With nuts and bolts and springs and screws, Whippy and Marcel worked late into the night, until finally, with the last whiz of his drill, the diving machine was ready. Full of excitement, Marcel raced to the beach to launch it. Luckily, it was high tide, so with a splash and a zoom of his propeller, he disappeared below the surface. Marcel travelled deeper and deeper underwater, past all kinds of weird and wonderful sea creatures, until he eventually spotted the plug. The old chain was extremely heavy, and it took all of Marcel's strength to lift it to the surface. Back in the boat, Marcel attached the chain to his crane. "Hoist her up, Whippy!" Suddenly there was a loud gurgling noise, and as the plug came up, the sea started to disappear down a huge whirlpool. The little boat swirled round and round as the ocean drained away, until they eventually found themselves washed upon the rocks. All around Marcel, the creatures of the sea were trapped on the sand and in the shallow rock pools with no means of escape. Then Marcel realised that without the sea, the frozen ice caps would begin to melt and the polar bears and penguins would have nowhere to live. He needed to fix things, and fast. "That's it!" shouted Marcel as he jumped to his feet. If there was a plug hole, surely there must also be a tap. But where could it be? And would they be able to find it in time to save all the creatures that needed the sea? For hours and hours, Marcel and Whippy trudged through the soggy sand, searching for the mysterious sea tap. Just as they were about to give up, Whippy started barking. "That's it, boy, but how do we reach it?" Then Whippy gave Marcel an idea. With miles and miles of sand all around, they started to build the biggest, most fantastic sandcastle ever. At the top, with a huff and a puff, a push and a pull, the tap finally turned on. With the force of a waterfall, the sea blasted out, sending Marcel and Whippy tumbling down into the rising water below. Washed onto the beach by huge waves, Marcel and Whippy were wet and exhausted, but very relieved. Quickly, the oceans filled back up. Dolphins were delighted, crabs were content, and the octopus was overjoyed. The sea froze to make ice, and the polar bears and penguins returned to their homes. Finally, with everything back to normal, Marcel didn't mind that his sandcastles got washed away, because he can build a bigger and better one every day. The end. Now I want you to see if you can build a sandcastle. If you have sand at home, then you could use sand to build your sandcastle. If not, you could use Play-Doh to build it. Or you could draw a picture of your sandcastle. Make sure you put lots and lots of stones and decorations on it and shells. and then I want you to tweet them in so we can see them all.